Hey everyone, Gill Gross here, and it is time for a preview of the 2022 Roland Garros women's final between Iga Swiatek and Coco Gauff. I just want to start by saying, before I get into all the tactical keys that I feel are going to play a role in this match, I'm really happy this is the final. It feels perfect to me for everyone involved, including the fans. But for Iga, I want her star power to grow. She's an amazing player. We have seen that over the course of really her career, but to another level over the last 2-3 months on this massive win streak that she's on. So, she deserves the adulation and popularity that that a player of her caliber should receive. And honestly, it's not only about her. Women's tennis needs it. And it's best for the sport if the best players become popular. And Coco just pulls her weight as a draw like few others do on the WTA Tour. At this stage in her career, she might not be the most accomplished player out there. Maybe there are a couple of opponents in the field that diehard tennis fans would take more seriously as a threat to beat Iga Swiatek. I don't know, but in terms of who is going to have mainstream appeal and actually help Iga grow her profile in the biggest match of her career, if you want to call it bigger than her first major final in 2020 at the French, which I do think this is just a bigger deal. She's now an established player, a known prospect. She has expectations on her. She's the world number one. She's looking for her first slam of 2022 and what could be a historically good year. So I feel like this is the biggest match of her career, and Gauff is the kind of player who is going to get eyes on this match, eyes that Iga really deserves. Now for Coco. She's playing her first major final. That's hard. But it's a lot easier when nobody expects you to win. I just think it's a perfect situation for Gauff to play her first major final. Quite frankly, it feels like she's playing with house money and that the stakes aren't too high, and that she's going to leave this fortnight feeling like she took a huge step in her career, regardless of the outcome on Saturday. Lastly, the fans. The fans win. That's what's most important. And this is a little bit subjective, but look, the storylines are super strong. Iga looking to cap off one of the great runs of all time. 45 straight matches won in a row. I haven't quite looked at the history of it. I believe if she wins, I think Serena did it in 2013, winning 45 in a row. So I think she passes Serena. Regardless, this win streak, it's going to be hard to get to Martina, who won 75 in a row. But it's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. The crazy thing about tennis is if she loses this final, it's going to be remembered completely differently than it would be if she wins the final. It's just a completely different thing if you run the table, win 45 straight matches to win Roland Garros at the end versus you won 44 straight and you lost in the slam final. We know how different that is in terms of how history will look at it. As for Coco, 18 years old, look, the age has always been one of the factors that has made Gauff's career so intriguing and interesting to people. And she continues to be a anomaly or a standout when it comes to her age. I mean, she is now the youngest major finalist since Maria Sharapova at Wimbledon in 2004. And I think she's probably the youngest Roland Garros finalist since Capriati. I think I have that right. I think. But not positive on that one. I'm sure about the Sharapova thing. If she can pull this off, it would be legendary in its own right. Her signature run since beating Venus Williams at Wimbledon about 3-4 years back, and she was 16 at the time, and Coco mania ensued. Since then, she really hasn't had her signature run or her signature wins. So I feel like the excitement has kind of quieted down a little bit. Maybe that's been good for her because she's quietly made these very steady and mature improvements throughout the past couple of years. The start of 2022 felt a little bit disappointing, but until then, it felt like everything was just solid, steady progress for Coco Gauff. And already, this is a huge milestone and a big-time achievement and marker in her career. But if she wins, it just gets to the next level. Lastly, will it be a good match? I think that's now the concern when it comes to Iga Swiatek. Like, that's what is going to kind of determine the entertainment value, because her matches have lacked so much drama in general because she has been so dominant. The number of bagels and breadsticks that she has delivered over the course of this win streak has been utterly absurd, and it's something that she did back in 2020 when she first won this event. Iga has a way of absolutely destroying people, and I don't know, like maybe that could be seen as a concern when it comes to just how entertaining this final might be. But here's what I'll say about that. There is nobody in the women's field right now who I don't think Iga is capable of blowing out. So what's the difference between Coco or, I don't know, who the other kind of the secondary favorites are, a Halep or a Badosa or a Sakkari or a Amanda Anisimova or a Sabalenka? Like, there is not a player in the world who I would feel like, oh, this is definitely going to be a very competitive match. So, Coco's just another player who, look, could this be a blowout? Yeah, it's just a possibility with everyone when it comes to Iga. And with that, let me break down the tactical keys of this match. Let's look at Gauff's strengths. We know that Iga is in general a better player. She will be the heavy favorite in this final. So what you do is, well, what's the anatomy of an upset in tennis? It is when, generally, when the underdog's strengths match up well against the favorite's weaknesses, then you can have a match that is more competitive than maybe you would expect on paper based on the level independent of matchup of each respective player. So let's look at Gauff's strengths and see if they match up with Iga's weaknesses. Then let's look at Gauff's major weakness and see if it's something that Iga can exploit. I think Coco has three main strengths: movement, first serve, and backhand. Movement. Start with that. Gauff's movement is one of the reasons why I'm very confident that we'll get plenty of great highlight reel rallies in this match. But I don't really know how much it's going to bother Iga. Swiatek has become a master of sustained high-margin aggression, and that's because of how good her forehand is. It's the same reason why her idol, Rafa Nadal, has been so successful on clay, a surface where a lot of the time your offense is going to be defended. It takes extra shots to finish the point on clay. If you have a weapon like Iga's forehand, you don't mind hitting extra ones because it's so consistent, but it's also big and damaging. Obviously, that's what you want to achieve in a modern forehand, and Iga has that. I think it might be the best shot in women's tennis right now. So unless Gauff is skilled enough to direct defense into Iga's backhand, which is hard, I don't see Coco turning a lot of defense into offense. or extending rallies into unforced errors, which is another thing that great defense can achieve. I mean, she's going against the best weapon in women's tennis when it comes to her defense and her movement. So I just don't think it's going to leave the imprint on the match that Coco's defense and movement can against other opponents. Now let's go to Gauff's first serve. This is my favorite edge for Coco. Zhang Xinwen and Danka Kovinic both averaged 105 miles per hour on their first serve against Iga in this tournament. They are the two players who have troubled her most. We saw in the next two rounds, Kasatkina and Pegula, players who are better baseliners than Xinwen and Kovinic. They actually did not give Swiatek as many issues as the players who could serve big. And in the set that Xinwen won, the tiebreak first set, the only set that Iga has dropped all tournament, Xinwen won 17 of 27 service points off unreturned serves. It's basically the reason she won the set. And Coco is capable of serving massive. She can really pump it up. She has a big, damaging first serve. And I don't know if Iga's return might be vulnerable to that right now. It's hard to say. There are actually few players on the WTA Tour that really are a great test of defensive returning in the way that Zhang Xinwen in particular is. Now, of course, when you win 45 matches in a row, 44, it's 44 right now. When you win 44 matches in a row, you've beaten all kinds of opponents. Iga's beaten Aryna Sabalenka, for example. She's beaten Ludmila Samsonova. So it's not like if you have a big first serve, you're going to beat Iga. But of all the things that Coco has that I could see playing a big role in affecting what Iga tries to do, it could be the size of her first serve leading to free points for Coco. So we'll see if that happens. I will say that I feel like Gauff has kind of pulled back at times in terms of her first serve speed to up her percentage. And that is because her second serve isn't really reliable. And that could affect Coco's ability to serve as big and as bold, as fast and as close to the lines as maybe she could if she had a second serve that was dynamite. She doesn't have that, so that could throw a wrench into Coco's first serve becoming the factor that it could be, in my opinion. Coco also has a tremendous backhand. And look, I will say, Iga in the Zhang Xinwen match, she also missed too many backhands. And I do feel like her backhand is quite a bit behind her forehand in terms of just the results that it's delivering. Now Iga's backhand can do a ton of damage. I mean, she finds really good cross-court angles, and she does not hold back on that wing. She will hurt you, but I also think that she will sometimes miss a little bit too much on her backhand when things are not going her way. So I do think it would really benefit Coco to go backhand to backhand and to get into that cross-court exchange. That's going to give her the best chance of coming out on top. Is that really something that I think is going to swing this match? Not at all. In fact, what I'm more interested to see is Swiatek going to avoid Coco's backhand when it comes to her serve strategy? Is she going to hit second serves to the Coco forehand, first serves also to the Coco forehand to try to get more out of her serve? Because Iga is someone who generally serves to the backhand, especially on second serves. And I'm curious to see if she changes that up against Gauff. And with that, let's talk about Coco's weakness real quick, her forehand. Now, by the way, Coco's ability to mask that weakness is the number one reason why she is better on clay than any other surface. I do think the athleticism and the court coverage are also better on clay, and that's part of it. What I talked about to start when it comes to tactical keys. But the forehand and the fact that clay slows things down and gives Coco more time, I feel like that's the main reason. It doesn't get rushed, so Coco is better on clay because it masks the weakness. The question is Iga's pace going to change that? I mean, nobody is taking time away and hitting as big from the baseline than what Swiatek is doing right now. And I don't think she's giving her opponents a lot of time at all, regardless of what surface. And I would be concerned that maybe Iga's pace of ball, and especially her forehand, which is frankly just on a different level when it comes to the heaviness and the weight of shot. You know, I'm curious to see if that can really trouble Coco's forehand, which she hits with an extreme grip, and it's a very long swing path, and those things make it susceptible to being rushed. And I would be concerned for Coco that Iga's pace of play, the way she gets time away, takes time away, and just how big she hits is going to be a problem on that wing. I'm also curious to see if Gauff's slower, heavy topspin forehands are going to give Swiatek too much time to operate on her own forehand side. Gauff's forehands on clay are difficult to attack because there's generally a lot of height on them and a lot of topspin, and that provides some safety. But let's see if that is going to cut it against Iga. It is very possible that by nature of the slow speeds, you're just giving Swiatek way too much time to operate, and she's going to be able to set up her offense nicely. So I'll say this about Gauff's forehand. Let's see how it is in this match. It'll be really telling. I'm excited to really follow that. I hope that her success at this year's Roland Garros does not allow her and her team to get complacent about improving the forehand, because I really think that if that shot clicks into place on all surfaces, that is going to be the thing that helps Gauff's career more than anything else. I mean, she checks the boxes athletically, mentally, has weapons in her game, but if the forehand is not better than it has been really until these last 2 weeks end in Rome, when the surfaces just slow down so much, if it doesn't get better on quicker surfaces, it's really going to hold her back. And I hope they don't say, okay, well, look, we're having amazing success at 18 years old. Let's just leave the forehand as is. I hope they make changes in the offseason to it, personally. In conclusion, I think you got to look at how does one upset Iga. And you look at her 2022 losses: Barty, Collins, and Ostapenko. Now, in the case of Barty, she's special. No one really replicates what Ash does. We understand that she just brought something to the table incredibly unique and great. And nobody is that. So let's throw Ash aside. Collins and Ostapenko is a very specific kind of player. They hit Iga off the court with their power. They did it especially on the return of serve, attacking what is one of Iga's biggest vulnerabilities, which is her serving speed. Now on clay, she has a nice kick serve. It kicks a lot. We saw Osaka really struggle to attack the second serve, for example, on at high bouncing Madrid. And I think it's a problem for almost everyone on clay to try to attack the kick serve. But if she was facing a player like Collins or Ostapenko or Amanda Anisimova, that is what they would try to do. They would try to do damage off of the return, thinking that that is their best chance to take control against Iga Swiatek. I'm not sure Coco is that kind of player. In fact, she's definitely not. She doesn't have point shortening power. And quite frankly, There's no one on Iga's level right now when it comes to trading ground strokes from the back of the court, and that's what Gauff is going to have to do. The play style that bothers Iga most is the play style that takes away rhythm. Gauff is not that. And if you look at this tournament, look at Pegula and Kasatkina. Fantastic baseliners who play with great depth. They change direction. They move the ball around the court. Tremendous angles, threatening, or I would say solid off of both wings. Really good movement, both of them. And they just couldn't pose a problem for Iga. It was Zheng Xingwen and her point shortening power that did. So in general, I don't really love Coco's chances to pull off this upset. However, I do think with the way that Gauff competes, the way that she moves, the first serve that she possesses, I think this is going to be a very entertaining match with a lot of great points and some interesting moments. I still think Iga Swiatek wins in straight sets. Enjoy the final, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.